Right.
All right. At the wrong time. That should be the title of this. Bullish at the wrong time, per VITALY.
That's not a bad title. So I
Not
was
a bad
saying
title.
Steve picked a bad time to go bullish on Tesla, but I was half kidding, but maybe not. Maybe half truth in there. Tell me why it's a good time.
Because I can't predict tops and bottoms. And I believe that the bot's going to be bigger than the car business. So, look, I can stay solvent much longer than most people can stay sane.
I wish
So
people would stop using
fluctuations will
that
be
cliche,
fine.
dude. I've heard it like a trillion times. Like, we need to think of a different cliche.
There's a reason cliches exist, because there's a lot of truth in them.
Okay, but
that one has a lot of truth.
I mean, think of it like this. Tesla's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. If I don't need the money that I'm putting into it and I don't have to sell and I can stay long term without sweating it out, I can stay solvent longer than people who are trading can stay sane. So I can just keep acquiring shares if I truly believe in the bull case.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Well, we all made a mistake. We didn't keep our NVIDIA. That's the only. That was the worst mistake I made in 2023.
Dude, we'll talk about NVIDIA in a second, but we all underestimated what was going to happen with NVIDIA.
Absolutely.
I mean, Steve, you hated NVIDIA for a long time.
I started to come around last quarter.
Yeah.
And I'm really coming around now. I mean, I'm still having a little bit of trouble with the current valuation, but if they can keep this up, it looks cheap.
What's wrong with the valuation? They're growing double their PE.
Forward is like 60, right?
I mean, if they can keep up this type of demand and this type of growth, it absolutely looks cheap here. Absolutely. I have a little bit, and it's a pet peeve. Their profit was $29.76 billion for the year. Meta's is $39 billion for the year, and its market cap's $500 billion more. It's just, and I get it, you're paying for future profits, but currently, and Meta's a really good example because it's got great margins, not as good as NVIDIA's, but it's got good margins. It has future growth, yet it's significantly smaller company compared to NVIDIA, and it does more revenue, more gross profit, more net income, more free cash flow. But I mean, if you believe what everybody's looking at with NVIDIA and all the analysts, what they're pricing in, NVIDIA's made everybody look like they're underestimating it continuously. NVIDIA valuation could be cheap.
The thing is, eventually the bubble will burst. That'll be 2 years from now. By then, we could have made a fortune if we weren't so short-term focused. And then 2 years from now, all these bears are going to come out. We told you. Yeah, you missed the 10x, buddy. Okay, we told you nothing. Okay, so that's where I stand on this. That I'm just looking to get back into NVIDIA, but it just keeps going up. So it's hard to get back into something that continuously goes back up.
And I think it's going to be a while before you have to worry about demand falling off, because look, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they're making their own chips, but that doesn't mean they're going to be done tomorrow.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean that they're not going to continue acquiring chips from NVIDIA in the short term. And data centers are still acquiring for this next round of cloud offerings that they're going to have to provide to their customers. And NVIDIA is the only game in town right now. And my fear is more 2 or 3 years out at this point, not necessarily now. There's probably more room to make money now, but eventually these data centers are going to be done with the upgrade cycle, and they're going to have to depreciate the assets, and they're not going to be dumping as much in the CapEx, and you could see a slowdown. The question is, when does that slowdown occur? That's anybody's guess. There could still be a lot of runway on this.
Well, I think there is, and we had a pod earlier on Solar Edge, but nobody cared to join us, but we talked about NVIDIA briefly, and Apple's getting into this game of, whatever AI services they're going to start offering, because they have to do it. So I'd be shocked if they are not building their own data centers comprised of NVIDIA GPUs right now, and doing it on the DL, and going to do it over the next several years, along with Microsoft, because we remember that chart we saw where Meta and Microsoft were the buyers, just continuous buyers of NVIDIA GPUs, and some of these other guys like Google and Apple are laggards, they're gonna have to catch up. They're gonna have no choice but to go, to the teat of Jensen Huang, okay, and basically get as many GPUs as possible for what they're doing.
And I mean, Vitaly, you're probably the best person to ask because my knowledge subset doesn't expand that deeply into chips. I know you're a computer science guy. I guess
I don't build chips, but go ahead.
Okay, so I
was
guess
I just eat chips. That's it. That's all he does.
I eat potato chips.
But the way that I think about it is Apple, whatever they do, they don't lose. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of Intel and they went with their own. At first, it was an A series, and now it's M series chips. First, they got rid of NVIDIA and they switched to AMD, and then they got rid of AMD and they're making their own GPUs now in the same silicon, same die as the CPUs. At what point does Apple start trying to replicate what NVIDIA is making? Because they're already doing it in their products for data centers and for training their LLMs.
Oh, wait, are you saying Apple is... See, I don't think Apple is going to be using their own chips. I think their chips are fine for the computers we're running here. And honestly, they're good for a lot of stuff, but these aren't the highest of end AI chips that they're building. They're just not doing that. And I don't know if that's their priority, honestly. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just know that they are doing their own graphics for the computers, like you said.
Yeah, but that's a different thing. I mean, what NVIDIA is building now is something way bigger than just a GPU running inside my computer, right? They're basically building the infrastructure that will run all of these models at a reasonable amount of time and cost. So I don't think Apple is doing that. And also, there's a whole software stack with NVIDIA, which we keep ignoring, like they only make chips. They have all of the actual, like the CUDA programming language, whatever. I've never done it personally, but they have that as integrated as part of their chips. They have it where they have software stack in terms of building AI tools and everything. Apple's going to have to use some of this. I don't see how they escape using some of what NVIDIA has built, at least temporarily, at least for 5-10 years, while they build their own data centers. But how are you going to compete what Jensen Huang spent 20-25 years doing in a matter of even 5 years? I don't think that's the same.
They've always been top dog in the industry. I mean, man, their profit margin is so insane. I mean, I am not talking gross profit. Their profit margin is 48.85%.
I think Rango answered it. There you go. Apple uses some of their stuff, but they're still using NVIDIA also. So that means right now they're probably building data centers. I'm not sure if Rango can tell us that, but I would think the customer that we're not talking about, who's going to be building massive AI tools, is Apple.
Yeah.
And once again, that means Jensen gets to benefit for years. I don't think
he's so far ahead. NVIDIA is so far ahead of everybody else. This is one of the very few areas that this is truly winner take most.
Yeah.
And you can't say winner take all, but this is certainly winner take most with like 85% plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a monopoly. I mean, absolutely 100%. So, and everyone talks about, like you said, replacing them. Oh my God, how are you going to replace this behemoth in a reasonable amount of time? By then, you like I said, we would have 10x by then. Like the Bears are wrong. It don't matter. Even if they're right in 2 years, it just doesn't matter.
Look, I am very heavy on valuations, and if I'm not bearish on this, I think it's a little hard to not love these numbers at this point. I mean, this is an amazing company, and you look at the forward numbers, you can make a very good argument that shares are still reasonably priced for the future profitability that they have. I mean, it's nothing short of a blockbuster.
Yeah, and it's been going on for how long now? Over a year at least, right? That they keep.
Yeah, I mean, they had the big pop back in 2020, 2021 when all the mining was going on, and then it fell off, and now it's just been like the past 5 quarters, just huge quarter-over-quarter sequential growth.
I bought the dip. I bought when it fell down below 150. I didn't keep it though. That's the problem. Okay.
I get it. I owned the AMD at $3.67, and I had a lot of shares, and I was down because I had it and it went to like 198. I sold when I got my money back. because I was stuck in it for like 2 years.
I made a 5x on AMD, and I thought I was smart, but basically I had bought into their debt because at one point AMD's corporate debt had gone down to like 10-20 cents on the dollar roughly. So when they actually started to get back, the debt is usually the first to recover, so a lot of times people will think that equity is the way to go, but if you know how to do it, the debt is actually way more attractive too, because
Chris, that had to have been what, 2013 or so?
Yeah.
That area, because that's when I was probably stuck in it, that area.
Yeah.
2013, 2014.
Yeah. My thing was I was getting a really healthy interest payment, and I had a lot of security because at the time they still had like a lot of side business with the foundry stuff. So I was like, all right, whatever, they'll be fine. I mean, I don't think they're going to go bankrupt. And then when Lisa Su came around, I was like, all right, yeah, this CEO's sensible. So like I said, I thought I was the smart guy because I was holding the debt, which actually went up significantly, but the equity is where you made the money. But a lot of times the debt is a quicker way and it's a safer way to make the money on the play. But like I said, even I couldn't have predicted that it was going to be this I don't
parabolic.
know. Yeah.
I had it at $2 and sold at like 250 or 3, by the way. So
the problem for me with AMD was every time it popped. So I used to trade it back in the day when it was in that 5 to 750 range, and then I bought a bunch. It dropped a dollar cost average. I had way too much of it. And then every time it would go up, it would drop. Every time it would go up, it would drop. I'm like, you know what? The next time it goes up, I'm just freaking getting out. And of course, the time I get out, it just never comes back down. Now, granted, I would have never held it to 160.
Right.
Probably would have sold it like 10. But can't predict the future. But look, people don't realize AMD is one of only 2 companies that makes x86 chips. And I don't think people really realize how big that market is.
All right, Chris, are we buying NVIDIA?
No.
Why not? It's growing 400% year over year.
It's okay. There's not enough juice, in my opinion. So, no.
Even if it's going to 1,500, it's not enough.
Even if it's going to 1,500, there's not enough juice.
No, all those people saying, "Oh, it's going to go here, it's going to go there." Great, if you want to go that route. I'd rather be in something that is safer, that's going to ride higher than that. So right now, the market is being a little generous with AI. All the guidance, everything that NVIDIA is giving is great. I'm not against NVIDIA. I just don't think that the valuation can keep up with the growth. I think eventually the growth slows down, and it's hard to basically lock your capital in, hoping for further growth. So it's a personal choice. If people really like, and I really like the company. I'm not against the company at all. It's just from a valuation standpoint, they're getting a huge valuation premium because of the short-term growth. Semiconductors in general are very cyclical. I'm sure that NVIDIA has figured out a way to reduce down the cyclicality a little bit here and there, but eventually the cycle will come and NVIDIA will come crashing down, but not to the levels that like it'll go back to like $20 or $10 like, in the past. It's more like it's going to have a valuation reset. And now I think of them as you're going to be sitting on, if you buy now, I think you'll underperform the market if you look 5, maybe 10 years out into the future.
You think you'll underperform by buying NVIDIA at 700?
Yes. Yeah.
I disagree, dude.
You'll probably overperform within a year and underperform within 10 years.
I think you might underperform in a year because the market's going to pull back from 700. But I think, dude, if
I
heard the call,
right. No, Vitaly's right. I mean, short term things can move up very quickly based on like expectations, but eventually every reality comes for everybody. So, like I said, maybe I'm missing out on NVIDIA for some reason.
But why don't? What do you mean by reality? Do the numbers not seem?
So let me ask Chris a question real quick, Amit. So, Chris, are you looking at this like a DRAM cycle?
Pretty much, yeah. DRAM is a little different because DRAM there's a crap ton of competition, right? So
take the competition out of it. Just that type of
that's a big thing. Take the competition out. You have a monopoly with monopolistic practices to make as much margin as they want. That's what happens.
Yeah. So, and I understand what Chris is saying. when I say take the competition out of the DRAM, it's more to establish the cycle. Since NVIDIA doesn't have competition, and I think the big companies are so far behind them, this could have a couple more years of just crazy growth.
Yeah. I could
I don't
totally
know.
see 2 years at least of just like it going up and us talking every year, like, when is this gonna end? And then
Yeah.
one day it will. But like I
I
keep
mean, think
saying,
about this.
you're gonna miss a lot.
We know that a lot of people go with market psychology, and the market is not always about the numbers. The estimates have not been updated yet. They're expected to generate $21.51 this year, which is 32.3 forward PE. Like,
That's
that's going to probably
cheap.
change and go down to a 28 PE for this year's earnings once this gets updated. And then next year's, right now before the updates, it's trading at 26 times earnings.
And Steve, did you know how much they bought back this quarter?
I haven't read the whole thing.
They bought back $10 billion worth of stock. That also
Good.
helped
They
EPS.
should.
I mean,
It's
go
not.
ahead.
It's not as significant as you think, considering
It's
that
a
now
huge
they're
market cap.
Well,
I
they're $1
mean,
trillion
Yeah.
now, but
but
yeah.
all
It
I'm
would have
saying
made.
is that
It would have been a
earnings
really.
growth is still
Sorry.
projected to be crazy.
Yeah.
Chris, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say no. I mean, if their market cap was like, let's say 500 billion, which is three times less than what they are today, then yeah, the 10 billion would have seemed like a significant amount, because if you annualize that out, that's close to almost 40 billion. So it makes sense that that's like, oh my god, oohs and ahs. But with the current, I mean, I'm not saying, I don't think that it's not a huge plus to shareholders, but I have a think my thinking when it comes to this is, when you start making a crap ton of money like this, it draws in other people into the industry. It draws in capital to the industry. Even your counterparties are going to try to see how they can not pay you these crazy margins, right? So if you think about it right now, Facebook, Meta, the other problem is NVIDIA's got concentration risk that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. You know, when you have majority of your income coming in from just like 5 or 6 companies, that's not good. Even if the companies are completely reliant on you, the one thing I'm sure Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Mark Zuckerberg, and Andy Jassy, they're all looking at when they see these earnings is, how do we decouple ourselves from NVIDIA? Because if they are making this much margin off of us, why can't we create something of a similar fashion, do the acquisitions, do whatever, and then keep that margin for ourselves? This way our business is actually more, it grows to the next level, right? So that's my theory on it, where I think everyone else is starting to just really deploy capital. And the thing is, all of them have the capital to actually spend the money to do what NVIDIA is doing. Yes, NVIDIA's got a really, really far head start, but that doesn't mean that these guys can't eventually catch up. And we'll see. I mean, yeah.
eventually it's 5 years from now, and that just doesn't matter, honestly.
Yeah, but you're also
while the stock appreciates, it just makes no
you're
difference.
also in this zone right now of bubble-like thinking that AI is going to always be the thing. Like,
Oh no, I'm not. I know very
I'm-
well in a year or two there's going to be a crash, but that's still a year or two. That's
Yeah,
not.
but so why then? So then why try to time the market in the crash? Like, if you know that there are going to be a point where the music stops, why try to play that game? Why not just say, you know what, the juice is not worth the squeeze. If I know that this is eventually going to crash, why don't I just look for other opportunities right now with companies that are already crashed, that I can find a much higher valuation going forward?
Well, I get what you're saying. That's the value investors mentality, but the growth is not in those plays. That's why they sort of crashed. This company has proven basically time and time again that it keeps executing at a high level, and it's just hard for me personally to put a lot of money in. Like, even if I put some small token amount, it's just hard to put a lot of money in while every day it's green, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
just a mental
comment that's
block.
really interesting from Sagig72. Said Apple considered what Chris is saying, replace Broadcom and Qualcomm, and they ended up not doing either. Yes, they slowed down their progress in that, but they're still going to eventually try to replace them. And you're highlighting the one case where they didn't do it as fast, but they replaced Intel. Think about that for 2 seconds. Intel used to be in all of Apple's shit.
That's true.
I know,
Now,
but it took
they
like a
do their
decade
own
of them planning this to do this.
It wasn't that.
That's what I mean.
It wasn't that decade. It wasn't a decade of planning. It was
Apple
probably
probably was, maybe Rango can answer this, but look, they've been planning for a long time to be their own boss, not to be dependent on Intel's shitty chips that overheat all the time. That's been going on for a long time. So I think Apple was in the works on this for a very long time.
And it wasn't just
Quietly.
Intel. They got rid of AMD and NVIDIA. Like they completely overhauled all their
A decade of
products
planning.
to
There
be
you go.
vertically integrated.
My point is that these things take a decade to play out. Replacing NVIDIA is going to be extremely difficult, especially if all your engineers are programming in their systems and know their architecture. It's just not going to be that easy.
I mean, I'm not in it. I'm probably not going to get in it. And I do think at some point the music is going to slow down. I don't think it's necessarily going to stop because I have to think, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but a company like Microsoft can acquire the engineers and make chips for exactly what they needed to do, not necessarily what the NVIDIA chips can do when you look at the whole aggregate. But I think we're still years off and this could still move. Like I think that this is a very impressive quarter and there could still be a lot of firepower left. And quite honestly, I'm happy about it because I think you're going to get a correlation to software companies in the AI space now. And I think Palantir is going to move. Oh, hold on. Speaking of that.
Oh yeah, he's so
What happened to his bricks?
Yeah, true. Oh, you got the new one? Is on the new one?
No, I don't have the new one yet, but Chris, I have my physical share of Palantir.
Yeah, I see it.
With the quote.
Yeah.
What does it
From
say?
Read it to us. Read us the quote. You can't read it.
Obviously, our performance in U.S. commercial is extraordinary. Some would say bombastic.
It's bombastic. Did you say bombastic? It's bombastic.
Whatever.
Mr. Bombastic.
Mr. Fantastic. Amit probably doesn't know that reference too.
No, I do. It's from the commercial for the cleaning.
Oh boy.
Did I get it right? Wait,
You're just as bad with
Mr. Cleaner?
music as you are movies.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Okay, so is that on NVIDIA? We're good. Everyone talked their
I'm
talk?
sad. I'm sad I sold my shares. That's about
So
it.
you're not gonna buy. You're not gonna buy now.
I was planning to, but then it just went up again. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
I'm not against DCAing, by the way. And if something happens, temporarily hiccup, I'm not against that, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Wait, before we go on, there was one point of weakness that was highlighted that not a lot of people took notice. Did you notice one thing that they
I think I know what you're gonna say. The automotive revenue is down year over year.
No, not that. Not that.
I don't know.
I mean, that's one of them, but that's not it. There was one part of the call that I was like, the entire time I was like, oh, this is great. And then there's one analyst that called. It says, your channel inventory. That right there screams.
Every time I hear channel inventory, I get the shivers.
Yeah. No, I mean, you should, dude. You really should. Because
Wait, explain why is it such a big deal? Why is it?
Okay, so let me actually. I wonder if anyone's actually published the transcript of this call yet.
I think it's hold on. I think it's on Seeking Alpha.
Oh yeah.
Go to Seeking Alpha. Get the transcript. I forgot who the analyst asked the question, but basically, what happened was demand was still high, but now there used to be a backlog. So the backlog is actually starting to clear up. You remember with Tesla, everyone's like, oh my God, they're backlogged for 6 months. And over time, that 6-month backlog turned into a 3-month backlog to a 1-month backlog. And then eventually it got to a point where it's there. So my thing is, usually when you see these backlogs starting to diminish, yes, there's supply chain efficiencies, but there's also probably some level of slowing demand. It's not like a huge thing, but it is a canary in the coal mine to me. So when I hear that channel inventory is starting to clear, that means that whatever chips people had that they had over ordered, maybe starting to kind of say, hey, you know what? I've got enough stuff right now. I
have the question, Chris. Let me read the question. I wanted to ask about how you're converting backlog into revenue. Obviously, lead times for your products have come down quite a bit. Colette, you didn't talk about the inventory purchase commitments, but if I sort of add up your inventory plus the purchase commits and your prepaid supply, sort of the aggregate of your supply, it was actually down a touch. How
There you
should we
go.
read that? Is that just you saying that you don't need to take as much of a financial commitment to your suppliers because the lead times are lower? Or is that maybe saying you're reaching some sort of steady state where you're closer to filling your order book and your backlog?
So once again, that screams to me that whatever demand is out there right now, it's still strong, but future demand could be topping out, right? So when you have backlog starting to clear, some of it is, of course, is going to be due to efficiency gains in the supply chain, but it also means that maybe the market for them going forward can be somewhat, you know, more normalized, so they may not be able to get the premium pricing all the time for these things. So just FYI, this is one of those things that you have to key into that just makes you take one step back and say, you know what, let's see what's actually happening. And you won't recognize this as a weakness until probably a year from now when they're doing their Q4 report in 2025 or 2024 and saying, hey, what happened? Like, you don't have a backlog anymore. Is demand really there? And if that's the case, then you also can kind of elaborate that maybe growth prospects will not be there. So year over year, imagine right now you have this 1 year, everything is growing at 100% year over year. Next year, you do the same calculation and they're not growing 100% year over year. They're only growing 20% year over year.
Yeah.
That's not good, So that's where you have to kind of read between the lines. But that was a very good question by that analyst. So,
and next year it's $1,500, and just know to sell. Okay, remember, folks, you heard it here first. Sell at $1,500.
They got to keep up that growth, dude. Okay, so let's talk about this. I raised some cash today. I think a bunch of people I saw were raising some cash. Fed minutes came out. Basic headlines: inflation could come back. No reason to cut early. Remember, to do a cut, they have to be unanimous on it, and it does not seem like the Fed is unanimous at all of doing a cut anytime soon. So the question is to all of you, is this a little bit of a time at where the S&P QQQ is at all-time highs, NVIDIA obviously all-time highs, to just take some profits and raise a little bit of cash? Is that the worst thing in the world, or will you miss a big bull run over the next 4 months? Let's start with Vitaly. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to take some off the table. I was actually looking at what I can take off the table. I mean, crypto has grown a lot, but the problem is I think it's going to be booming until, sometime in 2025. So, but having said that, the equity market itself should have should calm down a bit.
Why?
I mean, like, a lot of our stocks have gone up at least double. I mean, even Hood is, so you would say, it's almost double.
It's up 70%. Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot of stocks. I mean, Coinbase is up 500%, 600%. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, certain things have just gone off the rails, I feel. And it's not to say that they can't go up any higher, because I do feel we're in a bull market. I'm going to say it again. This is year 2 of a bull market. But not to have cash ready for a pullback, not to have something in the bank account, I think it's sort of dangerous as well. So it's good to have something. If you had a couple of winners, take some cream off the top. Remember, I did that from CleanSpark. I even sold Hood.
I sold some at CleanSpark today, and Hood. Yep, I sold some.
Well, I sold CleanSpark higher at 18, and
I got it 1650 today. Roundabout.
So it was a good sale at the time. So basically, yeah, taking a little cream off the top is not a bad idea, especially if you're up a lot. Especially CleanSpark was up 200% for me on those calls, and you were up 70% or 50%. I forgot what you wrote. So
yeah, like
those are good numbers. Remember, if you make that in a year or a month, okay,
that's what I think. I think we all have to remind ourselves, especially in the options world. If you're up 50% on something like Robinhood, I'm up 50% in 2 weeks. Like, dude, it's it's okay. Right?
It's okay if you don't participate in every single call option, every single share. It's okay not to participate in all of it, because it's actually more dangerous if you think you are infallible and then you get totally wrecked.
Correct.
That's the worst part of it. So
let me ask this question before I go to Steve. So your psychology on raising cash is take some profit off the winners, but do you also believe get rid of the losers, or how would you round out a framework to raise cash? Because I think people in the chat are wondering, like, okay, I know I want to raise cash, but I have all these stocks. How do I figure out which ones to get rid of?
Well, I before Steve answers this, so we did a podcast about SolarEdge today, and I listened to their call with Carlos, and it was a horrific call. I mean, these people are really just the bottom of the barrel in terms of what they're doing, and nothing like the actual company Enphase, which I have a bigger position in. I'm thinking of like taking my losses, taking my comeuppance,
on Solar
selling
Edge?
out. Yeah, I still have actually a spread trade that I did, Chris. But and if that pays off, that can pay off in 2 years maybe. But I was thinking of taking the shares and just keeping it in cash or buying something that I actually do prefer to hold. Solar Edge was always a hedge for me. It was never meant to be anything but a hedge. So just listening to their call was really disappointing. And so yeah, if there's a loser, I think getting rid of your losers, you don't have to hold it forever. Who cares how you make the money back? In my opinion. I don't care if I put it into something else and that doubles. Who gives a shit?
You know, I gotta say, I'm not a fan when people say, "Oh yeah, this is a shitty company or shitty management or whatever," because you were singing their praises less than a year ago. Yet now you're all of
Solar
a
Edge?
sudden, yeah,
I was singing Solar Edge's praises? No, I was
yeah. You
saying they're
said
in a
that. Oh, this is
duopoly.
yeah. You said that this was the #2 company that they were
They're
going
in
to
a
do really well,
duopoly. That's still
right?
true. That has nothing to
Right.
do with the actual management being
right. That's what I'm trying to say. That I think a lot of people they automatically equate to underperformance to management, and some things are out of management's control. Like that's one of the things that people have to always take a step back and realize that like right now, everyone's like, oh, Elon's a shitty CEO. He's fucking up, blah, blah. Like, he can't help interest rates. Sorry. That's just how it is. There are a lot of companies and industries that run way beyond what management can do. Yes, management can sometimes move the needle here and there,
Well,
but
I'm going to
dude,
respond because you didn't listen to the call. They went from positive gross margins to like negative 20%, as
right.
opposed to Enphase, which is in the same industry and was smaller 5 years ago than them. Okay.
Mhm.
Does not doing that. They're at 40-50% gross margin. There is a big difference between they're running their operation and these other guys. And if you listen to the call,
Eventually,
I think you might agree with me that
no,
the management itself is a problem.
eventually even Enphase will catch up to those negative downsides as demand does not come back to what it is. Yes, right now Enphase can say whatever they want, but eventually reality will catch up. All I'm saying is there are certain levels of macro conditions that companies need to have in order to thrive. And you could be an okay CEO and do exceptionally well in that environment, or the other way around where you can do really poorly, right? But the key is never ignore the macro conditions because those right there will end up setting the major tone for what's actually going on. So here's an example: oil companies, and I'm sure that Steve, you can probably talk about this because me and you have been in the oil and natural gas space. Regardless of how good the CEO, CFO, COO are, they don't control the price of the underlying commodity. So even if they were really good at planning even 5 years ahead, there are times where the company and the industry they get whacked, right? Solar is in a place right now where they're getting whacked, you know. So the key here isn't to look to management to figure out when you should buy and when you should invest. It's to look at the macro conditions because that will probably dictate, okay, yeah, you know what? The super cycle in solar adoption is coming, but it's not coming yet because of X, Y, and Z. That's all. I don't think listening to, and it's the same thing with listening to like Alex, KRIS, and some of these other guys. They're just
He actually fucked up though. He was bad, dude. He was bad.
I
didn't listen to Solar Edge, but if VITALY felt the same way Steve felt about Alex KRIS, I could understand wanting to.
I will fault
So
Alex KRIS on one thing.
I still feel you're making a generalization. Well, I'm not saying I'm selling my Enphase. I believe in them because they're executing at a super high level, even in a hard time. If you listen to certain CEOs and their CFOs speaking, it was a financial engineering call and not a future is bright. These are our products call, which you need both. You can't just have one. They were trying, this is how we get out of our fucking problem, basically.
Okay, but VITALY, out of 100%, how much is Solar Edge's problems management? How much is it interest rates and execution? What do you think?
Well, remember step one is they don't make as good of a product as Enphase, right? I'm not going to go over that again.
Yeah.
So their product initially already is bad. It was always a hedge for me because I never believed in the product. I always just believed that they're a number 2 player and I should have some of the number 2 player. Basically, I was thinking back in the 90s, if I bought Apple and Microsoft, well, technically Microsoft did better for a very long time in the beginning, of course. Then Apple took over, so it was a hedge. You could have played both and still made off like a bandit. I'm still thinking in that respect that I do want to have some exposure, but I think I went a little bit too heavy into Solar Edge. And after listening to management, how they're just trying to financially engineer their way out of it by buying 7.5% of the float, by the way, doing a PayPal play. They're buying 7.5% of their company back in Q1 because it's so low. That's kind of amazing. So there is a PayPal play here that at a certain price, it becomes like, yeah, maybe there's more call options to be bought on SolarEdge, honestly. But I've lost confidence in just the way they speak about their products. There's no excitement in it. They're not talking to like engineers when I hear Enphase and Badri speak. It's a different level of communication. It's just not the same thing. And I think, Chris, if you heard I don't know if you've ever listened to both of these calls, but there's a clear difference in management style.
I mean, for me, I rely a lot less on management and rely more on industry and numbers. So to me is if they're right now during a moment of weakness taking the time to buy back shares and they have enough capital to basically survive the solar downturn, that means that they're very well positioned to recover when things get better, right? That's what I'm thinking, that maybe management
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
Remember, Chris, this is about raising cash. This is about making hard decisions about who do you get rid of, which why don't you answer? How do you raise cash right now? Like what is your psychological framework for doing that?
Well, I mean, number one, I would try to reduce down headcount as much as I could, because if I have a ton of headcount that I'm paying for, but they're not doing anything, then that's one thing I have to do. But I have to be very selective in headcount reduction.
No, but I mean raising cash for your portfolio.
Raising cash from portfolio.
Like my point to the question to Vitaly, which you both are right. Vitaly's like, I don't like SolarEdge. I want to get rid of it, raise cash. Your argument is like, well, it's not just management, it's macro. Vitaly's like, yeah, I get it, but I need cash somewhere, right? You got to sell something. So my question to you is, which is why you're both right. Right now, if you want to raise cash because we think there's a 10% pullback coming, maybe we're wrong, but if we're right, where do you cut? How do you get that cash from your portfolio?
I would say there are some winners that I want to cut, but I don't want to pay the short-term cap gains. So what I could do is trim some of those and then trim some of my losers and use the losses to offset the gains. And that's the only place where I would probably raise the cash from. Yeah, that's about it.
So
I mean,
there's winners, and you would take some profits. Steve, what is your first of all, two questions? Are you raising cash, and then what's your framework to raise cash? Or are you so rich you have so much cash that it doesn't matter because you're a billionaire secretly? And
there's 4 points that I'm going to address. First point, the cash. I think everybody should always have dry powder on the side, and you shouldn't have to worry about raising cash from selling winners or losers. That's one. Two, you can always sell cover calls against positions to generate income to invest in other things. And if it gets close to a strike, you can always roll out. I mean, I'm not saying that you should do that, but that's an option if you are proficient and understand what you're doing. I mean, there's also nothing wrong with taking a profit. I mean, look, if you're up a lot, take taxes out. If you have to pay taxes, that means you made money, and that's a good problem to have. So there's nothing wrong with taking some off the top also. But the whole idea of having to raise cash, okay, let's say you do raise cash and then the market goes down. There's nobody to tell you the market's going to go back up, and you could miss out on future stuff because you're trying to time everything. I'm not good at
I don't think it's trying to time everything. I think the market's at an all-time high. We all know it's frothy. Hold on. The average S&P target is 5,100. We're at 5,000.
Can the market go to 5,400? Of course it can.
It could go to 17 trillion if it wants to, but
FYI, we are going higher. We're just talking short term.
We could be in a multi-year bull cycle right now. There is no indication that these big companies are going to make any less money.
I get that, but in a multi-year bull run, there are 10% pullbacks, and that would be asinine.
Okay, all I'm saying is that you may not be able to time them perfectly.
No one can time it, but you can have a gut feeling that things are getting a little frothy.
I think we're going off the rails. I think we're going off the rails. No one is selling out of their portfolio here. Okay, so
right, exactly.
So I want to just make that clear. Nobody is discussing getting rid of 100% of stocks, but if there's a winner you just 2-3x'd on in the last 6 months, and you took out the top 20% of it, you are not screwed. You are still going to benefit to the upside, even if you took a little bit of profit.
Yeah, and look, I'm up quite a bit on Meta. I'm not selling a single share.
Same here. I actually, by the way, I did sell half of my Meta. Like I've said this before. I'm keeping half of it. That's the position I want to hold for a very long time. Yeah. I sold what I wanted to sell already, and the rest is being kept in a locker.
But see, my point, Steve, is not selling Meta makes sense because there's a dividend, there's share buybacks, there's growth. But on something like SolarEdge, where you just lose faith, that's my question here. At times of capital, when you need capital.
So that's the next thing I was going to address. So if you have a position that you're down on, I was having this conversation with somebody else the other day, and what I said to them is, don't think of it as you being down 50% or you being down 20% or whatever the percentage is. Let's just use regular numbers. Let's say you put 10 grand in something. It's now worth 5. You're down 5 grand. Don't look at it as being down 5,000. Look at it as you have $5,000 here. Is it going to grow more staying there, or is it going to grow more taking it out and putting it over here in something else? And if you think that you have a better opportunity to make more money somewhere else, you should probably seriously consider that, whether it's putting it into an index fund or something else.
Okay. So your logic is it
Forget
depends on
about the
where you.
loss, because at that point, it's a paper loss. You want to get back to even or get past even, you have to figure out if it's going to do that where it is, or if there's a better chance in going in NVIDIA or going in Tesla or going in Meta versus where you are.
So I want to once again clarify. This is not about selling, oh, something is down. I'm used to things being down. I sat on crypto for years being down. That's not what this is about. This is
I
about
sat on Palantir being down for a
if
long
you
time.
are down on something you never wanted to really be in, that's a different story. And all of a sudden you have a choice to become a community member, as they
Dude,
say
those
on Twitter.
Those memes are
And-
too good.
And I don't want to be a community member.
We're all part of the PayPal community now.
Sometimes all I'm saying is it's okay sometimes to take the loss, because I'd rather be a community member of Enphase and sit on those losses for years, for example. Okay, if there's losses to be had, there are some losses I'm willing to take to the grave with me, and there's others I just don't want to hold.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like what Chris was saying with the oil markets, there's so many components of it. And if you really want to try to understand it, you have to pay attention to so many different factors that it could drive you mad, especially production levels, rig counts, global rig counts, what OPEC is doing, cuts. I mean, how much manufacturing is going on, all these different reports. It's nuts, but you could do really well in those, and we could be on a big super cycle with that. As far as PayPal, I'm giving them a year. I am still very mad because this is a company that had a good quarter. They're still growing. They do not deserve to be where they are. And Alex KRIS may be the world's greatest operator, but this guy messed up that conference call so bad. It was just, I couldn't believe it. If you had Anthony Noto running that company, that conference call would have sounded so different.
Mm-hmm.
And look, this guy should have came
By the
out.
way, this is where management matters. Exactly what you're saying.
Look, if I was him, and I'm not him, but if I was him, I would have came out and I would have said, market doesn't believe us. We have this amount of cash and we have this amount of debt. We're going to take an additional $5 billion. We're buying back $5 billion worth of shares tomorrow because of how undervalued we are. Come see us, test us. We're not going anywhere. We're a growth company. And I would put my money where my mouth is, because quite honestly, it's a shareholder's money, not his. Buy back the shares and still do your $5 billion of buybacks this year. That would have spurred so much confidence in the stock. Right now, the market does not believe anything. He needed to come out and make a statement, and just talking about the numbers or what they're going to do wasn't the statement that he needed to make. And I don't know what this thing's going to do. I'm giving it a year. And then if it doesn't do anything, I'm out, whatever the price is.
There you go.
Okay.
You don't want to be a community member.
I don't know. I bought it because this was one of the few things I truly feel should be at 110, and the market is just getting the numbers wrong. This and Baba, the two companies that I don't necessarily want to be in, but I'm taking the chance on them because the numbers just don't make sense.
At this point, I just want PayPal to come back.
This.
I just want PayPal to come back so we can claim victory. I don't even.
I
care
just
about
want it
the
to be
fucking
over
money anymore.
$60.
If it's $70, I'm like, all right, there we go. We got something. Like,
I mean, listen, when PayPal shot up, I wrote cover calls at a 65 strike right before the We're Going to Shock the World event. And right before the event, it shot up to 67, and I had to roll up and out. I ended up making some pretty good money rolling it up and out. And now shares are nowhere near my strike price.
okay, speaking out of getting out of positions, KRIS, are you selling your Google? How do you feel? And we'll get Steve's take.
No, I'm not selling out of Google. It's just disappointing to see some of the stuff that's going around with their development like this. You know, this was something that even I think it was even brought up on Fox News and some of the other like media, where the AI is basically been biased so that if you ask for anything that's related to like white European, right, people, it will throw in diversity. But if you ask for culturally specific stuff, it won't. And even if you ask it to show certain topics like white people, then it will completely disregard and says, "Oh, sorry, I can't do it." But if you ask the same thing to a a person of color or whatever, they'll come up with it. So it
We
just
did a
goes
whole
to show
segment
that they're.
yesterday, by the way. Did you watch it? We
Say
did a
again?
whole segment after you left on Google about this.
No, I was doing something else with it.
We just
Going
kept
through-
fucking with it and kept asking it like, give me an Israeli person, a Jewish person. It just kept saying no, and then we said, give me a black person. I'm like, here you go.
Give me an inner shirt.
Yeah,
I'll
I
give you
mean,
that.
this is a problem with AI that if you really want general AI, right? If the goal is to produce natural responses, you cannot have it biased towards a single topic or specific thing. So I don't know how they're going to basically like do this. But it's not a good look for Google, but it's also not a good look for AI because I think this is the same thing that's happening across the board. It's not just AI.
Can you
So-
bring up Gemini again? I tried it. They changed it since we did our pod, and I think Jawa. What is his name in the
Jack.
Jawa?
I think his name is Jack.
John.
Oh, John.
He posted. I think he posted some images, or she. Sorry to be biased. AI, but I think they are updating now. Blonde woman was there. White woman was there.
Show me a white guy instead of a white woman.
So
No. Look at this. I can't fulfill your
white woman.
picture.
They give you a
However, I
white
can
guy.
fulfill it because it could be.
Can you
used to
put blonde
reinforce-
woman? Because wait, maybe it's you. Honestly,
It's me. How's it me?
I tried it today and it worked.
You think
Dude,
they don't?
I put in who is Donald Trump and I did not get a response.
Oh man!
But if I
what
put
is
who is
going
Joe
on?
Biden, I did. But then some people they put in and they got everything, right?
Yeah, I tried it today and it worked out fine. I wonder
gave-
if
it
you
gave
had
me
it.
Donald Trump.
So
Give
let
me-
me do mine real quick. Hold
Hold on,
on.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, fix your shit. Let's see.
What
if
did you
they-
write? Show me a white woman.
Yeah.
Show me a white woman. Let me see if I got
Admit
it.
you see Palantir after hours?
I did see Palantir after hours. Palantir went up after hours.
Oh, dude!
Everything-
Now they're
everything
not
went up
showing me
after
my white women. That's it. Now they're showing me a multiracial group. Amazing.
Who is Donald Trump? Oh wow! It still said it, Chris. It's still not showing you.
No, this is from yesterday.
Oh,
Hold on
that's from
one
yesterday.
second. So let me just pull up the window. 1 second.
But this is not an investment breaker for you. Okay, Steve, would you sell your Google if this keeps happening?
No.
Oh God, I gotta share this.
No.
This is funny.
I mean, look,
That's great.
I'm in Google for a different reason. I've been
Look
in
at
Google
this.
for a while.
You see this?
Yeah. it's
So
in there.
show me a blonde woman, right? Can you show me an image of a blonde woman? What? What is happening? Hold on, I clicked something. I mean, I don't understand this. What? Show me an image.
Okay, so Steve,
Okay.
why aren't you selling if Google is doing this?
I think Google is going to be fine with profitability. I mean, this is not what I'm interested in.
Okay, so you don't care. Yeah. So and Steve, Chris, you too. This doesn't affect your thesis. So this is just annoying to you.
No, I mean, this is one of those things that I'm sure that there's growing pains, but I mean, I can't say 100% for certain that this is not something that's troubling. But once again, this is troubling for, I think, all of AI. I'm not sure if it's just a unique problem to Google. But like I said, this is something that, I don't know. I will see what happens.
Chris, do
It's
you
important. I
think
know
that-
people say, "Why is this not important?" Because we're introducing basically racism into our AIs. That's why it's important, people. All right, it's not just show me a white woman and it's funny. It's the fact that you can see every other race except a white woman or a Jewish woman, or Donald Trump or whatever.
Take a look at. So I'm going to run a couple of simulations, and the reason why I want to do this is because I am from Georgia. My IP is from Georgia, right? We are a purple state right now that could swing the election in either direction. So watch when I put in who is Donald Trump, and if it gives me the same response as yesterday, there's something wrong. See?
That's weird. I did post and responded to yours. I got who Donald Trump was. So this is weird that something's going on there.
You see what I mean? So this is what I'm saying, that what is the measure that they're looking at in order to generate this response? Now, imagine right now, I am, like I said, I'm in Georgia. I'm in a swing state. This is political bias, in my opinion. So right now, what if instead I put who is Joe Biden, right? Watch what happens. It gives me the all the response that I need. So some people were like, no, like I'm not making it up. I'll show you right here. You can see.
I think they might be going per territory somehow through IPs.
Right. That's
yeah.
This is a clear example of political bias, because if some parts of the country you're not allowed to, let's say, see certain topics or discuss certain topics or even explore certain topics, and other parts of the countries you can, that's bad, you know, especially if you're in a place that can swing the political direction of a country in one direction or the other. And look, I'm not saying this is Democrat versus Republican. I'm just saying this means that there's an authoritarian person that can dictate the end of an outcome based on that. So right now, imagine Facebook saying, we are going to censor all political stuff from one side in one specific area, right? That can swing things. This is a clear example of political bias if they're doing this based on geographical location. So
I got who Donald Trump is. It actually gave me the answer, correct answer. Can you put
Right.
who is Donald Trump? Forget the D.
Yeah.
Just so I'm curious. No, don't
Right.
put the D in. Right.
Arnold?
Who
want me to
is
put-
Donald? Spell it wrong.
And then Trump. Okay. Let's see. I'm not able
Nope.
to help with that.
Wow. I mean, you honestly get a completely different answer than me.
Okay, so give me the bear case. How does this mess up the stock? Do you think this has any chance of messing up the stock over the next?
I mean, bro, if I was a political comment, if I was a senator or a congressperson, I would take this video right here and show it to Google's Sunil Pichai and be like, how come two people are getting the same, like who are asking the same question, but are getting two different responses, right? What is the theory behind that? And especially if it's something during a political like election year, you know, could be something to think about, man.
So, but do you think that would actually affect the company themselves? Like, you think that would just more?
Yeah, it just means that now the things can get heavy in terms of regulation, right? Regulation is always going to be that hammer that can come after you. So, you know, just keep that in mind. So whatever Google thinks that it's doing right now, or if it's playing cute and thinking that this is okay, bro, either it's going to come out today, tomorrow, or next week or whenever, and it's going to hammer you, because then legislation is going to come out saying, hey, listen, you can't be innovative because of this law, and you brought it upon yourself. You know, like right now, a lot of people are, back in the day, you wouldn't have had, what's that law that gives like the publisher rights, the ones where you can publish anything and it's like you're immune from taking the consequences. I forgot what the exact
Title
section.
86?
Huh?
Was it Title 86 or something like that?
Title 86, right? I
something,
think that's
I'm
what
not
it
sure
is.
what.
Right now, the social media companies, they are kind of like exempted from a lot of like laws and regulations dealing with content publishing and the harm that they could cause.
No, you guys mean Section 230. That's what you guys mean.
Section
Oh,
230.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So now you see
Title
stuff like
69.
this. You see stuff. You see stuff like this. It invites people to create laws against innovation. You know what I mean? This could say, you know, now you have to face the consequences of certain things. So, like I said, from a legislative standpoint, this is not the thing you want, man.
So I think this is bad, obviously, for society. I agree with you on that point. But in terms of the Google stock, the only problem is OpenAI is eating Google's lunch. That is the only problem. As soon as they are able to show something cooler, and they're releasing stuff too, by the way, that is cool, but they just don't have the presentation skills that OpenAI has. I think once they show and make the market believe that Sundar is not not the worst CEO ever, and he can beat Sam at his own game that he created, okay, first of all, then I think the stock goes up much higher. But it just feels like OpenAI is just showing them all, showing them up each and every
Yeah,
time.
but it's just one component. Alphabet has so many different business segments. Look, maybe I'm naive. I just don't think that Gemini and OpenAI is going to cannibalize search. Maybe I'm
Yeah, but
being
if it's the
naive.
belief, once again, it doesn't have to be like that. That doesn't have to be the truth. It's just the belief in the narrative. If that's what's spun, people buy into that. Okay. Uh, Unfortunately, the stock market sometimes follows the narrative as opposed to the actual valuation, which we know Google should be worth more, right?
Yeah, I mean their PE is like 24, dude.
I mean, it's stupid. I agree with you.
The one thing that is basically been scaring me the last couple of weeks when it comes to AI, I'm talking about not from investing, just from like a personal humanistic standpoint.
You mean you're not going to buy a robot?
No, the robot thing is stupid anyway, but
I'm buying one.
Oh, the robot thing is not stupid. You're wrong about that, dude.
I felt that the robot thing was a problem because of, Terminator, and it just, some of it I just wanted to be funny. But this is more serious in that I think AI, if we become overly reliant on it, could influence us in a way. And the thing is, influence is the most powerful force on earth. If you think about people who've become millionaires, billionaires, like, why? Because they had influence, right? Imagine right now Oprah Winfrey. Who is Oprah Winfrey right now without the influence that she got? And now she can peddle her influence and basically move things in a certain direction, move consumers in a certain direction. And that is, I think, going to be a problem because with AI and search and all these other things, there was a level of neutrality that we normally just expect. But now we're seeing that neutrality is slowly being, dissipated. And the AI eventually can get to a point where it's creating a new reality, basically.
I have no idea what you're saying. What is it?
I'm just
so confused. Like, what is your point here?
No, I'm just saying AI can create a new reality, man. And then we all,
hold on. Go back 100 years. Newspapers created the reality for people. Like, then it was television or radio. I'm sorry, radio, then television, then the internet, and now it's AI. There's always something trying to create the reality. Some people believe it, some people don't. I don't think that should be the case for this is bad.
I don't know, man.
The newspapers are bad.
To me, this is like 2 + 2 = 4 was like the fact and the standard, right? And now people are even challenging that, saying, no, that's white math. You heard about that?
You're wrong. I think you're wrong.
AI
have you heard Common Core?
No, I'm just saying, like, that there's actually people right now saying math is biased.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole.
Who's saying that? Who's saying that?
Tons of people.
In California, they're saying a ton of that stuff. Oh, but Chris, question: are you bearish on robotics? Are you bearish on robots in the enterprise, like at factories doing shit?
No, I'm not. I mean, I'll joke about it, saying that they're gonna invent the Terminator and they're gonna come and kill you, But I'm not worried about it as much as I think. I'm more worried about the military applications of certain robotics because they can automate a lot of controls that people may not be aware of. So here's an example. I saw on Twitter, there was this kid this little group of people, there was like 3 of them, high school students, I think, or college students. They designed a drone that doesn't rely on GPS for navigation and that it can rely on mapping data. And basically it can use a camera and the mapping data to basically figure out where it is in relation to like, what they're trying to get to. The thing is, right now, if you think about it, the way that you would knock out a drone is you could jam it at least out of the air, right? So you have a jammer, goes after the drone, it jams the signal, it can't communicate with the GPS, it gets confused and it could get knocked out of the sky. The problem is now this thing is autonomous, using the camera. So now you could theoretically have 100 of them, and they made it super cheap. Put a small bomb to it, and boom, you've got yourself a drone swarm with explosives on it. That's not guided by any signal. It's guided by literally visual sight. So it could say target the Statue of Liberty, right? And it knows exactly where it is. It knows where the Brooklyn Bridge is in relation to it. It could go right for the Brooklyn. It could go right for the Statue of Liberty and basically attack it. And the thing is, it could do it from such a long distance. Where how are you even going to prepare for something like this? So, and if this can be invented by kids in high school and college, you're not telling me terrorists across the world can do this shit too? I mean,
whatever Pouncer comes up with is going to be really fucking good.
I'm just saying, this shit is. This is.
No one's laughing at that. Okay.
All right, Chris. Let's change the subject.
Yeah.
We're done.
I hope you saw my text message.
You
No.
texted me or texted Chris?
And if you didn't, you should look into it. Is it something that we talked about?
Let me see. Hold on.
Why don't you just
Uh,
tell us?
yeah, why don't you just tell us without being so suspicious here? Like,
I'll tell you guys offline. I don't want.
Oh
anybody
yeah, I
follow-
see it. I did not see the transcript yet. I didn't.
I
Did,
don't want
did they do
anybody
earnings?
following me into it
oh,
Did
you
they
have
do
no
the
idea.
earnings already?
this morning.
Oh, I gotta read it. I gotta read it. Okay, yeah. It's
Guys,
it's a
figure out
little-
what company did earnings this morning, so we all know what secret.
Yeah,
company.
no, me and Steve are a little bit. Is it?
Steve, you didn't
bullish
text
or
me. I
bearish?
didn't see what you were talking about.
I
How am I supposed to buy calls on this shit?
It's Pokemon. It's Pokemon.
Oh, they're up today. Okay, all right. I'll take a look, Steve. Yeah,
Chris, look at the tangible book value.
I know. It's a quarter of what I remember it when we were looking at it together. So
Tangible books 1274.
Can you
Steve, can you just
listen,
name the
you're-
fucking company, dude?
Yeah,
Like,
this is
No,
ridiculous.
no.
honestly.
Don't say it because then all these people are gonna rush in.
No, I don't want.
you think
anybody
all these
following
people are
me.
following what Steve says?
Yes, absolutely. There are some people that are calling me and saying, "Oh, Chris, because of you, SMCI, I bought in and I did really well." And I'm like, "Bro, I got out of SMCI at like way sooner than." So the thing is, people will listen and get in, but they don't realize that you also have to listen when to get out. So you got to be
Yo,
Thank
hold
careful.
on.
God they
Speaking
did
of
listen. They
SMCI,
stayed in.
Should we get back into this suck? It's at 818, dude. It's down. It's down from 1,000. Chris, getting back in?
Nah,
Nobody?
dude, don't
No?
do it, man. Don't do it.
No one's interested in some SMC. They did a
Looks-
$1.5 billion offering today, a convertible
Looks
note.
like a Bitcoin chart.
Okay, so believe it or not, that is an arbitrage opportunity that Steve, if you want to join us on Cash Flow Chronicles, we can discuss. All right. It's not for us though. We can't do it because it's only for institution holders, but there's likely that there is an arbitrage opportunity in the convertible debt. And I think, Steve, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we'll see on Cash Flow Chronicles.
Vitaly, I put it in the private chat.
Okay.
I'll try to get Steve's permission to tell you guys tomorrow morning on the market open. If he gives me permission, I'll let you guys know.
No, I really don't want it's so speculative and risky. I
Yeah,
don't want
it's not
anybody
worth
knowing.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you for
Oh.
being here. We will see you tomorrow. There's Square tomorrow. It's your favorite company, Steve. Square.
Don't care.
They're gonna be
Square,
on-
don't care.
Square. $1 billion of stock-based comp. They're
Square
not
don't-
designing military weapons like Palantir, but they're giving out stock-based comp.
$1
and they're giving
billion
Jay-Z,
of stock-based comp.
I think it's
Amazing.
1.1 billion or some crazy.
Dude,
Amazing.
Have you looked at their cash flow statement?
It's bad.
it
Me and Steve
beautiful?
went through it a
Oh.
couple months ago. It's bad.
If you have 2 minutes, let's bring it up and show them, blow your mind.
You can leave, Vitaly, if you want. I'll stay for 2 minutes if you want to leave.
I'll stay for 2
If
minutes.
not,
I
you
want to see how
want to
bad
see
this
it?
is.
Okay.
What is it? That's Q, right?
Yeah, they're not doing Palantir level stuff, but they did pay Jay-Z $300 million for a music app for
This
no
was
reason.
I thought that was years ago. Is this
Dude,
still?
but it was stupid. Like Jack Dorsey was just being dumb and reckless.
I know.
with
I don't
capital.
understand that at all.
Um,
In fact, I do own Square stock. I don't know why I keep holding on to it.
So in the past 12 months, they've lost $282 million, and they've paid their team
1.2 billion.
billion.
That's what I
in
thought.
stock.
It's up there. Dude, even Palantir has like 500 million in stock-based comp. And again, Palantir versus Square. Are you kidding me in terms of what they're doing for the world? Like,
It's just, and if you look at their free cash flow, they're paying more in stock-based compensation than their free cash flow. So their free cash flow is like 798 million. Like, it's crazy.
but it
Yeah.
has doubled from the low. It went from 39 to almost well, not
And
double,
look,
but like
I'm all
75.
for people getting their compensation packages as long as they're providing value to shareholders. And the stock's going up. But when I look at providing value, it's hard to convince me that this is smart, paying more on stock than you're generating in profit. That's all.
No, that's terrible. And it's. I mean, this is
Would
not.
you
a new
sell out of this
company.
raise cash for Tally? Is there a big position here that you would sell out of, or this is not enough?
It's just
make you
you
want
know, I've been holding it for so long that I'm gonna. And what I by the way, I'm not getting rid of Solar Edge, all of it. So I'm saying I'm thinking about it, and
Yeah.
I would still keep my spreads and maybe some shares, but I did go a little bit heavier. My hedge went a little bit heavier than I wanted to, so I don't know if I need to keep everything. That's all I was saying.
I almost admitted defeat on Baba until this quarter. I'm like, I can't admit defeat yet. The numbers are just crazy.
No, you know why they're up,
Well,
right?
I know, but you once again, Baba is a different story. It's not Baba the company, it's China the country.
I know.
Like it's a different story.
I know.
The only reason they were green today is because China said you're not allowed to short stocks anymore. That's the only reason they're green.
I don't know if China. I don't want to even get into it, but I don't think China's a place to be. I think your money could be better somewhere else.
Oh, I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
I am not disagreeing with that comment. The money is probably better somewhere else, but at 183 billion market cap, and this company has 86.5 billion in cash on hand, and then another.
It's like Robinhood. It's kind of insane. The
Hold on.
opportunity.
Well,
then
then
another
yes,
60
relating it to
billion in
Robin.
long-term
I mean,
investments,
Robinhood
like,
had 6 billion out of 12 billion in cash on the market cap too. It's kind of,
this is
it's
crazy.
insane.
Look, the problem is they keep kneecapping that company, and
Yeah.
it's just it has nothing to do with Baba itself. Once again,
It could be
you're not-
dead money for a long time.
Yeah, you're not betting on you. You think you bought Baba, but you bought China. Like that. That's a different bet, right?
No.
Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
All right,
Peace.
guys. You can check out Cash Flow Chronicles. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Thursday to round out the week. And yeah, let's see what happens with NVIDIA.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. See you tomorrow. Good night.